Okay, I have a question for you guys before I tell my story. What if the ether, God, your guardian angel, whatever it is you want to call it, that watches over us and connects us all, what if that thing, that supernatural thing, saves you, lets you dodge a bullet, so to speak, but because that happened, somebody else gets that bullet? What does that mean? How is that fair? How can something that was heading for me, and I got a warning for, so I ducked it, so to speak, but because I ducked it, somebody else got hurt? How do you explain that? Is it because it wasn't my time? Why were those other people not saved? Why was I only saved? So I'll tell my story about that, how a car was heading towards us, driving with its lights off in the wrong direction, and we just happened to move over because I felt the need to move over. And it hit the people in back of us, and it was bad. So that was an ether story, but it saved me, but it took out other people. And I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I'm glad it didn't happen to me. It was like, whoo! And a couple of other bad accidents that happened right in front of us that we were able to just skirt through, and we weren't part of. Why are some people saved while others aren't? That's the question. And I want to say, hey, Suso, the conversations we're having have been great, and I understand what you're trying to say. He's saying, don't get so distracted by Mandela effect and the flat earth that we stop looking into the important aspect of finding our power. And the way I want to put it is, keep going down the rabbit hole. Don't stop at flat earth. There's so much more down there to find out. And that's why we're sharing these stories. And those of you who ask on my channel, why are you talking about this? It has nothing to do with flat earth. It does, because it's the people who are awake enough to know about flat earth that I'm speaking to. And we are sharing our stories. So if it's all the videos, if they don't have flat earth in them, it's because I'm trying to talk to the people who are awake enough to understand about flat earth. And the ether stories that we're telling now are something that... Okay, well, this story is for Conspiracy Mystic. You're telling stories about what happened with the ether and the car accidents and how you were saved. And I told you I would add my story to that. And there is something in this story that bothers me. And at the end, you'll see what I mean. Because the fact that something was watching over me, but it was at the expense of the other people. Other people had to suffer because I was saved. So here I am. I'm in Florida. I'm driving on Route 19. Now, if anybody knows that road, you know it's like a 55 to 65 mile an hour highway with 3 lanes of traffic one way, 3 lanes of traffic going the other way, no divider. It's just like painted lines that divide you, so there's no concrete barrier or middle lane, middle divider. I'm driving home with my husband from visiting my daughter, and we're riding in the middle lane because the left lane people would turn left to go the other way, and the right lane people were always slowing down and make right-hand turns, so we kind of hang out in the middle usually. And 19 is just a crazy dangerous highway to begin with. But we're taking 19 home. We're going about 55 miles an hour, and it's nighttime, and it's dark, and we're riding along. And I said to my husband, I said, why don't you move over to the right lane? We're almost to our exit up ahead anyway. Now, he's not one to do what I say when driving. It's like, if I say slow down, he'll speed up. If I say, why are you waiting until last minute to brake? You know, you just get the face. You know, you can't tell a man how to drive. So I really didn't expect him to listen. I just thought it would be a good idea to move over to the right. Well, he did. He immediately moved over to the right. Within 5 seconds of moving over to the right, we see, vroom, like a black blur just goes by right next to the car. And what was that? And I turn around and I look. It was a car with its lights off, running from the police, going the wrong way on the highway. It had been in our lane. We couldn't see it coming because it didn't have its lights on. And the minute we moved, the second we moved over to the right lane, that's the boom that went by. And when I turned around, it hit head on the car that was driving in back of us. Bam. So I see this crash, and then the police are in the other lane coming towards, in the lane they're supposed to be, but they're chasing this guy who was running from them in our lane. So we see all the police coming, and we had to keep going because we're southbound and they were northbound. But this car would have hit us head on had we not moved. And the thing is, it hit the people in back of us, and I don't know what happened to them. It wasn't on the news. But something told me, something tapped on my shoulder and made me say, let's change lanes. And my husband, who usually doesn't listen to me, did change lanes. Because that happened, we were saved, but the people in back of us were hit. So here's something that protected me, but it was at the expense of some other poor souls. How do I feel about that? Well, I'm glad it didn't happen to me. But who is it to judge who gets hit and who doesn't? So that always bothered me. It's like, well, why did it have to hit anybody? Maybe it wasn't my time. Someone was looking out for me. But why was I saved at the expense of the people in back of me? That's just something that bothers me, and I don't know. I don't know what made me move over. I don't know what made my husband move over, but we moved over just in time, and they hit the people in back of us. So that was kind of my story with that, and I don't know why things like that happen. And conspiracy mystic, I also lost my brakes one time. I was about 18 driving home from work, back when you had brake lines with fluid in them, and the brake went right to the floor. And it happened just as I was getting home, and I was able to coast right into the parking space and hit a fence a little bit and stop, and I was safe. So that's an awful feeling when the brakes go to the floor. Okay, I'll be back. Hard to find a place where you get lighting on these mobile things. Anyway, as I was saying in that story, there's sometimes things that happen that you can't explain, and we are sharing our stories. And Conspiracy Mystic, I told you I'd put that one up, so I did. And but it bothers me that because I was saved, somebody else got hurt. So that was that. And I just wanted to put that out there and see what people think. Got some YouTubes to look at, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.